Yeah, 150,000 German troops surrendered to our division up there. They was running from the Russians, and so when they met the Americans, the first Americans they met was the 82nd Airborne, so they surrendered to our division, and that was in Ludwig, Germany. And now that was the day that Roosevelt died.
Okay.
Right then, right at that time. Not the exact day.
This is from the vicinity where I lived.
At first, the day that I seen the Russians was about the day that Roosevelt died. Whatever day that was. I think he died in June.
Yeah.
June the 12th or something like that. Yeah. But there was a concentration camp there also.
Oh yeah.
When we come into that town, and that's where they had that mass burial of 400 people who was dead in that camp.
It just laying there. Yeah.
And we had that mass burial there. The whole town and all the people in the countryside, we turned out for that.
They had to.
And when we went into the camp, and the only ones that was in the camp was the overseers and German guys in that run it. And we captured all of them, and they all surrendered to us, And a couple days later, it was a couple days after that, that they had individual graves dug for everyone that was dead.
Who dug?
And they was over 400 people. Most of them were Polish people that was in that camp. And well, they had the German population dig the graves and stuff. And the German people, some of them, when we was having that funeral, I beat people away from some of them Germans to keep them from killing them Germans.
Guards, the German guards of
the German guards that come out of that camp and stuff. That was on that camp to keep them from killing them, because they would have killed them like that. They would have beat them to death. They didn't know what was going on. I mean, the population around there.
Just don't look at it. That's what's going on.
So that security there was pretty tight, but I can't see how really how people could be that naive and not know that something like that was going on.
They just
don't
want to look at it.
You see pictures of some of them people. They just look like a skeleton walking around. And I tell you, I seen a lot of them that was at that camp. That camp, they was literally starving them people to death. That's what they were doing in that camp. They weren't executing them or anything or putting them in the ovens. They were starving them to death in that camp. And some of them people that come out of there, they couldn't even eat. They couldn't eat anything. They couldn't even hardly take a drink of water or anything. They'd been starved for so long. It was.
So there was some alive when you got there.
Oh yes, there was live people there. Yeah.
Polish. They had a wedding.
A lot of them Polish there. Oh yeah, they had a wedding there. No, not at that camp. This is another camp we liberated. Before we got there to this camp I'm talking about at Ludwig, we come into another camp back before we got there. We're back in the forest country and stuff, and we come into that camp that evening, and I was riding in the front of that 6x6 that our squad was in with the driver. And we going down the road. Just before we got that camp, there was some Germans on the road, and they run off into the woods, and I poked my Tommy out the window and was shooting at them right past the driver as I'm right in front of him. And he slammed the brakes on and jumped out that truck and took off, and I had to jump out of the truck and force him back in there. And we went on down to where we was going to go that night, which was a concentration camp out there in the woods. And it covered about 10 acres. It was all high fenced, and they had barracks built there. And they was on stilts up off the ground about that high, because people could crawl under it. That barracks too. And when we started to pull into that camp, when we pulled off the main road onto the road that went to that, the Germans was shelling us with them 88s from off a distance, and that guy jumped out again and run off, and out of that truck, and we had to get him back in there, and we drove on into the camp, into the compound and stuff, and them was all Polish people in that camp. They were all Polacks. And that next day, we stayed there that night, and the next day they had a wedding. And there was 26 couples stood up, and the priest married them all at one time. 26 people. And we stayed, we stayed there about a week and a half, close to a week, 10 days maybe, or so, right there at that area. But them people in there wasn't too many of them starved. They were work people. They had them out there working in the woods and stuff, you know, and heavy timbered area. But they were in pretty good shape, them Polak people were. But you know, that wedding went on for all that time, for 10 days, 2 weeks, steady. They were just singing and dancing and had big bonfires going and stuff.
What they had gone through.
And they got liquor from someplace. I don't know where they got it, from someplace around the area. Probably the Germans had it or something. And that first evening when we pulled in there, one guy come over and could talk English, and he was talking to me, telling me about some place down the road. I need to go down there and go down there, and he's got a bicycle there and another bicycle, and he wants me to go down there with him. And anyway, he crawled up under one of the barracks, and he come out with a square bottle, quart bottle, and I looked at it, and it had different kinds of fruit on it, and so I asked him to take a drink, and he took a drink of it, so I took a sip of it, and I tell you, that stuff was so strong. It was some kind of homemade liquor in that bottle. It was so strong it peeled the skin on my mouth. But anyway, he wanted me to go down someplace. I couldn't understand where it was. I was supposed to go down there with him somewhere. I just to tell some other people that it was liberated, you know. And I followed him down the road about a half a mile or so, and you know, there wasn't nobody down that road at all, so I got scared and turned around and went back.